Alright, this video is going to be pretty straightforward. You're going to see me dial in the part, face the ends, and put the chamfers on. But we have some good stuff to talk about along the way. So you can see here the chuck was open for a much larger diameter piece of stock. So I'm putting the stock in and I'm pushing it down and eyeballing to where it looked like it was centered in the chuck or to the next jaw. And now I'm just running the jaws down to where they look like they're even in reference to the rings on the face of the chuck. So I always look at that corner that my fingers are touching of the jaw, and then I just gauge by eye which way the jaws need to move to make them centered. You can also use a ruler if that makes you happy. I found that I'm usually close enough just eyeballing it. In this instance here, I actually have about I think I end up with over 100 thousandths of total indicator travel, which is quite a lot, but you'll see even with a large amount, I still can get the part dialed in pretty quick. And now what you're going to see me do is I'm going to spin the chuck and I'm going to find the furthest counterclockwise rotation spot. And then I'm going to go to the closest jaw and I'm going to zero out the indicator. Now I'm going to go to the opposite jaw. You see me tapping it. And I'm going to record the total movement. So it looks like maybe 120 thousandths. Well, half of 120 is 60. And that's how far I'd have to shove the part that way. But of course I have to back this side off a little bit before I can shove this part away from me. So you'll see every time I spin the chuck to the opposite side, I barely crack it loose and then I snug it up. But I don't get carried away because I'm trying to move the part. I'm not trying to lock it down. So right there, I did the same thing. I took a reading and I saw the total distance, or that's what I'm doing right now. And then I think I might move, instead of just aiming at half the distance, so let's say it's 20 thousandths, and aiming at the 10, I might actually spin the 10 to the 0 position if it were to be 10. And that's what you saw me do there. You can do this if your indicator base, everything's tight and it's solid. Now I know on these other two jaws, I just aim at the 0 and I'm going to be pretty close pretty quick. Yeah, so it's looking pretty good. Now I got to start tightening it down. Now, by default, I actually almost always indicate my parts in off the side like this, and it probably is easier to come from the top at a straight vertical setup, but where a majority of my time working was spent, the chucks were too big, where I'd have to get a step ladder to climb up to be able to run the chuck wrench in the top of the chuck. So I got used to doing it on this side. Now to set the tools here, you see, watch how tight I tighten these set screws. I'm pushing until I feel that wrench start to flex in my hand, and I know that's good. And it looks like I crashed the tool there, but I didn't. It's a bad, funny camera angle. But if your tailstock is not too terribly worn down, or if there's not any chips underneath it, using the tip to tip method, like you can see here, to get yourself really close to center is a great method. I find I almost always have to tweak it, and you'll see me end up tweaking this one a little bit. It makes such a difference when your tool is actually on center line. It's amazing, right? If you have a good setup, you get good results. Imagine that. This is a 45 tool. I'm setting my tools that I know I'm going to use. When possible, do that. Sometimes you have to be courteous of other students in the lab. But if you're there's only a couple of you on the lathe side of the shop. Um, Plan ahead, think smart. You'll save time. Nothing fancy here. I just touch off. Um, Face the part to where it's clean. And this is what I was talking about. I I got close to the center, and I'm gonna guess there was probably a little knob. Um, and I'll pay attention here. Do I loosen it? Looks like I'm raising it, so I probably was a little bit low. But you'll see at the end of this video, I show the end of the part. Um, the centerline height position is nailed perfectly, and then you'll also see a really good finish as a result. You see me over there with my left hand. I'm pretty sure the lathe was in, the gearbox was probably set for threading, and the lead screw is probably whipping around really fast. So as the spindle was slowing down, I think I rocked it out of gear, because you don't want to have your lead screw spinning if it doesn't need to be. If somehow you manage to engage the half nut going 800 or 1000 RPMs, it'd be terrible. Yeah, so I'm doing a quick 16th little scribe here, and you saw I was using a Sharpie or a marker. Um, you know, for video, I'm doing this, but a lot of times I would probably just kind of wing it and go by eye, but you need a lot of experience before you do something like that. So definitely I would not take the part out of the chuck into the inspection room to scribe a line. And now watch here, I come in, and as soon as I get to the line, I get away. I don't let that tool rub. And that's a big deal if you want to have a bright finish like that. You have to have the part or the tool on centerline height. You have to have RPMs correct, and you got to get in to where you're feeding and then back away. So I loosen 2 jaws, keep track of which 2 jaws I loosen. I run around, make a really bad layout. I don't know what I used there, a dirty marker. But I must have scribed a line there. I filmed this a while ago, which is common. You know, I film these and I don't get around to editing the video for half a year or longer. So since I kept track of my jaws and then I brought the 2 in that I loosened, the parts nearly dialed in. I want all of you to get extremely comfortable dialing in parts. I don't know if I mentioned this before on video, but where I worked before I started teaching at the college, we only had one lathe that had a 3-jaw chuck on it. And, you know, that was mainly because we were doing repair work, or even the new manufacturing of different saw arbor shafts and stuff like that. They had to be perfect. So we were always dialing in our parts. We weren't boring metal soft jaws to get 0 run out in a 3-jaw chuck. It's just easier to dial in a 4-jaw chuck, and then you have all that clamping force. So get used to 4-jaw chucks, because you can always, it doesn't take a lot of skill to tighten a 3-jaw chuck, does it? But you need to practice the 4-jaw chucks. Yeah, and when I filmed this, I had the little GoPro camera on, I don't know, some weird setting, so it's not really the widescreen, but I guess you just have to live with it, right? Now watch here on my pass where I'm happy with the distance I faced off. I don't drag the tool back um, out. I run the tool away from the part and then I back up because I don't want to have any drag lines. I want the part to look good. And you see there, I sweep those chips away from, so that way I didn't set down the tool holder on chips because that would change my center line height. And also, I set the tool holder down nicely. Don't drop them. You'll start to bend those little studs or set screws or whatever the tool holder has on it. They will start to bend. That's a dry erase marker. Dry erase is great because it wipes off really good, but also it wipes off really easily. So sometimes it's a great thing to use, and other times it's not a good idea. Same thing. Feed in until I get to the line, then back away. And actually on the other side, I edited this part out, but I lightly break the edges. The 45 tool left a good finish and everything was looking good, but there's still a slight corner, and I just wanted this part to look good, I guess, because why not? And that's the beauty of dry erase. It's gone. No diecast remover required. So in a second, I'm going to pop. Oh, I'm going to double check the length. and I did that on the other side too. Always check your parts before you take them out of the chuck or vise. So I'm going to pop this part out and then check the overall length before I, put it in the cart thinking I'm ready for the next operation. Then I have a part that's wrong because I made a silly mistake. But yeah, you see that? That's a good finish. Now I get a really good accurate reading here as 6 inches and a thousandths or thousandths and a half. With plus or minus 5 is what I'd like to see if you're going to lay out lines. It's doable. Oh yeah, such precision. I don't know if any of you watch the Blondie Hacks YouTube channel. It's pretty good. You see stuff like that, so I thought I'd have some fun. But anywho, that's the end of the video. Have a good day.